Yo, what's good YouTube? It's boardzy. This is going to be a review of the LAMZU Atlantis V2 4K. It is both of those things. They sent me out both sizes, the mini and the medium, and yeah, this is just going to be a video about LAMZU's new and improved product that comes in at $100, so a very reasonable price for a 4K implementation. For reference, G-Wolves mice are around $170 for 4K, and Razer mice with the 4K dongle comes out to around the same. There are some other Chinese mice that are as low as $70, so $100 seems like it should be around the standard for a solid 4K wireless mouse. Slight price increase over their standard version, and I just feel like it's pretty reasonable. I just wanted to get my thoughts out on the pricing, because I have noticed that the price of mice is really fucking high, and not everybody's in the market for $150 plus mouse. But yeah, in terms of the actual mouse itself, not a lot of difference from the old LAMZU in terms of just in-hand feeling. The only difference to the actual shell, I believe, is the skate design. They also include these larger Zowie style skates in the box if you prefer those. Just a slight update, but really nothing too much. The big update is the Nordic MCU from the Compex MCU. If you don't know or really care about the differences, to put it simply, it just allows the mouse to have 4K Hertz compatibility. They also did apply the black charcoal coating. I don't know if this mouse is going to be available in other colorways and if they'll be coated, but for the launch, it seems like they do have the coating, which is definitely an improvement from their previous batch. And a slight note, if you have used the black coating from LAMZU before, it is less chalky and a bit more rubberized, but it still is nowhere near as like rubberized and grippy as something like Endgame Gear, Zowie, the new Razer coating, or even Logitech. So it is chalky, but just a pretty solid coating. I have had no issues with the mouse staying in my hand consistently, getting a good grip of it, kind of segueing to the weight, but it does come in at 55 grams on the medium and 50 on the mini. So there is no weight increase when going to 4K. I'm not sure if they changed the size of the battery, but the battery hit with 4K enabled is nothing out of the ordinary. I would say you probably won't get more than 3 days of like moderate to heavy use out of it before it blinks red, but that's just kind of the standard with higher polling rates. The shapes obviously have not changed. The medium size is going to compete best with the XM1 shape. Obviously the XM2 Wii is Endgame Gear's only available option. I'm not going to pretend that the XM2W exists or is going to release soon, and that does weigh in around 8 to 10 grams heavier than the LAMZU Atlantis. It does come in $20 cheaper. It has a better coating in my opinion, and surprisingly just feels more solid in the hand. For the first time with a LAMZU mouse, I have had some creaking, which I'm not gonna lie, does not take away from my ability to use the mouse in game, but if I had a glorious mouse that made noise like that when I squeezed it, I would definitely be clowning it. So I'm not sure if something has slipped up in China, because the Pulsar X2 Clear, which I actually didn't even make a video on, also has some pretty bad creaking. So I don't know what's going on, but definitely cannot have any side flex or anything like that, because it does take a bit away from the premium feeling of the mouse. It could obviously just be my unit, and my mini is nowhere near as bad as my medium, actually like not bad at all. So yeah, I got a bit off track. My unit could just be a dud. I'm not sure if it is an earlier production batch, but I definitely noticed when testing head to head that the XM2 Wii just does have a lot more solid of a feel, which is something Endgame Gear just has a reputation for. So I would say when picking between these two mice, what style of mouse you prefer, it should be the determining factor, not something like the polling rate. But if you are looking for the lighter, a bit more mobile option, I guess go for the LAMZU Atlantis. But if you do want something more solid with that kind of like just Zowie mouse build quality feeling, go for the XM2 Wii. With the LAMZU Mini, some mice it compares well with are obviously the X2 Mini, the Ninjutsu Sora, the G-Wolves Hottie S Plus, maybe even the G-Wolves HTX. But yeah, I would say out of these bunch, I do honestly prefer the X2 Mini the most for fingertip grip. It's just a shape that I really like. Obviously, you can say it's biased, but the fucking coating on the special editions does add a lot to the mouse. Huano Blue Shell Pink Dots are the same switches that the Atlantis uses. Something to note with the Atlantis Mini and Medium, there's vastly different amounts of like actuation force needed to actually activate the switch. I don't know how well it's going to pick up, but there is just so much less force needed on the mini. It's something I've noticed in the past on like final mouse mice where the smalls take less force than the mediums, but wow, these clicks are fucking light on the Atlantis Mini. I don't know, again, if that might just be a little unit to unit variance thing where I have extremely light clicks. And it really does change the feeling of the mouse a lot when you're doing some type of click timing scenario, having to apply a bit of pressure and getting more tactile response versus just very light, extremely spammable clicks. In terms of the click quality, there's really not too much to note. There is a bit of pre-travel, but if anything, it just makes the clicks feel a little bit like looser and lighter and nothing really massive with pre-travel or mouse wobble. Obviously, if you force it, there's going to be slight wobble, but nothing I found to be any type of a detriment in game. So yeah, all around pretty solid. I'd say the medium Swano implementation is going to be more in line with what people are expecting. I would say I prefer the feeling of the X2 with Wanos slightly. I would prefer the LAMZU implementation over G-Wolf zippy switches, and the XM2 Wii's optical switches are pretty heavy, so I've never been the biggest fan of those, but yeah, I mean, all of these, you're going to be able to fucking click them once you get used to the mouse. So yeah, a question I got a few times from owners of the original Atlantis was, should I upgrade to the 4K version? And that is, there's no easy answer. Like with 4K polling, which I haven't really discussed the implementation, I wanted to wait until now. It is very solid. Like there is an improvement in the feeling from the 1K version. Is it necessary? As I have always said, no, 4K is not necessary. 1K hertz, it was the standard. People still perform at the highest level with it. There is no problem with 1 millisecond of latency. But I just feel like 4K hertz becoming the standard, it just makes a lot of sense. Obviously, better mouse input, smoother, cleaner feeling. It's better. On higher refresh rate monitors, better tech, you're going to notice it more. There's just no reason companies should not be putting out products with higher mouse polling rates. You obviously don't need to use it if you don't like the battery hit. If you're having compatibility issues with the game you're playing, you can fucking drop it to 1K or whatever you want. But I just feel like the higher polling makes a lot of sense. Apologies for the ramble. Getting back to the 1K version, which is perfectly fine. You really don't need to upgrade it. If you're like, man, I'm not going to be able to eat this month if I get the 4000 hertz polling rate mouse, don't get the 4000 hertz polling rate mouse. But if you look at it like, oh, you can probably sell the used one for like 50, 60 bucks, then it's like paying $40 for an upgrade, a fresh mouse. Maybe go for it. Maybe you're rich and you can buy any mouse you want. You know, there's a lot of possibilities in this world, and there are even more solid gaming mice. When it comes to my preference between the mini and the medium 4K version, I'm actually preferring the medium. I just don't enjoy fingertipping the mini size as much as I do some other small mice, and it's just too small for me to seriously claw grip, and I've just liked having a more relaxed style grip on the medium. It's just a very pleasant mouse to use. Obviously, I did have the side flex issue, which I have not seen in other reviews. I really hope it's not like the standard, hope it's just a dud unit. But yeah, all in all, the mouse has still been fucking solid. I didn't talk about the side buttons really, not too much to note. I don't love the side button positioning on the mini version, especially hitting that back one. It is placed kind of far back for how small the mouse is, but on the medium, perfectly fine. And yeah, it's going to be about all for the updated review of the LAMZU Atlantis V2 4K. I feel like it's really hard to argue that this mouse, with the tech and features at the price it's at, is not a better value than a lot of the $150, $170 mice out there from companies like Razer, Zowie, G-Wolves. Like, LAMZU is giving a solid product at a solid price. Obviously, hope the build quality issue is not apparent on many units, but I would say still compared to mice in the like $80 to $100 price range, there's a lot of competition, and it's going to come down to like what shape and like hand feeling you prefer more than just the polling rate number. But yeah, I have not had many issues at all with like polling rate consistency. There's literally one time when my mouse input began to feel just floaty and like there was input latency, so I restarted my PC and everything was a-okay. I don't know if like my CPU just started to overload. But yeah, that is all I gotta say about the LAMZU Atlantis 4K. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to see more mouse reviews in the future. Obviously, come to Boardzy Fest, and any other questions, leave them in the comments below. But yeah, the LAMZU Atlantis V2, very based mouse.